September 5, 2018, Wirecard AG joined the DAX 30, Germany's most prestigious stock index, reserved for the 30 largest and most important German companies: Volkswagen, Siemens, BMW, SAP, and now Wirecard. The Fintech disruptor, the payment processing revolutionary, the company that would drag Germany into the digital age. Wirecard's stock price was €191. Market capitalization 24 billion euros, larger than Commerzbank, larger than Deutsche Bank, the pride of German innovation. CEO Markus Braun was celebrated, Austrian-born, PhD in computer science, visionary leader. He promised to make Wirecard the global leader in payment processing. Revenues were soaring, from €330 million in 2010 to €2.8 billion in 2019. Profits exploding, growth unstoppable. Investors loved it. Analysts recommended it. The German government praised it. Then the truth emerged. June 2020. €1.9 billion in cash did not exist. Never existed. The revenues were fake. The customers were fake. The profits were fake. Everything was fake. Built on lies. For over a decade. By June 25th, Wirecard filed for insolvency. Stock price €2, down 99%. Market cap destroyed. 24 billion euros vaporized. Markus Braun arrested. Jan Marsalek fugitive. Wirecard became Europe's Enron, Germany's national embarrassment. The biggest fraud in German corporate history. This is how they did it, and how everyone failed to stop them. Wirecard began as a very different company. 1999, Munich, Germany. The company was founded as InfoGenie AG, later renamed Wirecard. The original business model was simple. Process payments for online pornography, gambling sites, other high-risk industries. Traditional banks would not touch these clients. Credit card companies avoided them. But InfoGenie saw opportunity. They processed payments, took fees, made money. In 1999, the internet payment industry was Wild West. Little regulation, few controls. Perfect for entrepreneurs willing to operate in gray areas. The founders were Markus Braun and Edmund Mittermeier. Braun was Austrian. Born May 1969. PhD in computer science from Johannes Kepler University. He worked as a consultant before joining InfoGenie. Mittermeier was German, technical expert. Together they built a payment processing platform. By 2002, they renamed the company Wirecard. More professional, less pornography-focused. They positioned themselves as legitimate fintech, processing payments for e-commerce, online retailers, travel companies. The business grew. In 2005, Wirecard went public, listed on the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. Initial valuation modest, but Braun had bigger ambitions. He wanted Wirecard to become the European PayPal, a global payment processing giant. The problem was competition. PayPal dominated online payments. Traditional banks had merchant services. Wirecard needed differentiation. They found it in Asia, emerging markets, high-growth regions, where regulation was lighter, oversight weaker. Perfect for Wirecard's strategy. By 2010, Wirecard reported revenues of €330 million. Growing fast, the company attracted attention, investors, analysts, media, Germany's fintech success story. But beneath the surface, something darker was brewing. The foundations of fraud were being laid. 2010. Wirecard shifted strategy. They would dominate Asia. The company claimed massive growth in Asian markets: Singapore, Philippines, India, China, Japan. Wirecard signed deals with major partners, airlines, e-commerce platforms, payment processors. The revenues from Asia exploded. In 2011, Asian revenues were minimal. By 2015, they represented over half of Wirecard's total revenues. The growth was astonishing. Too astonishing. This is where the fraud happened. Wirecard used third-party partners in Asia. These partners supposedly processed payments for merchants, collected fees, generated revenues. The problem? Many partners did not exist, or barely existed, or were controlled by Wirecard insiders. The structure was complex. Wirecard would sign an agreement with a third-party processor, TPA. The TPA would supposedly process payments. Wirecard would receive revenues, but the actual transactions were murky, hard to verify, often fake. One key partner was Card Systems Middle East, based in Dubai, run by Wirecard insiders. Card Systems supposedly processed billions in payments, generated hundreds of millions in revenues for Wirecard. But investigators later discovered Card Systems was mostly fake. Shell company. Another partner was Al Alam Solutions, Dubai again. Similar structure, fake transactions, fabricated revenues. There were partners in Singapore, Philippines, India, all with questionable legitimacy. The genius of the fraud was complexity. So many partners, so many jurisdictions, so many transactions. Auditors could not track everything. Regulators did not understand the structure. Wirecard executives could hide behind complexity. Chief Operating Officer Jan Marsalek controlled Asian operations. He traveled constantly, built relationships, signed deals. He was also building the fraud infrastructure, fake partners, shell companies, round-tripping transactions, creating the illusion of massive growth. By 2015, Wirecard's Asian business generated over 1 billion euros in revenue. At least on paper. In reality, much of it was fake. But nobody knew, yet. 2008. The first whistleblower. A Wirecard employee sent an anonymous email to German authorities. The email detailed accounting irregularities, suspicious transactions, fake revenues. The employee claimed Wirecard was cooking the books. Authorities investigated, superficially. They found no smoking gun. Case closed. 2016. More whistleblowers. Several Wirecard employees in Singapore contacted management. They reported suspicious activities, round-tripping of funds, fake customers, altered documents. Wirecard hired a law firm, Raja and Tan. They conducted an internal investigation. The law firm's report was damning. Evidence of serious wrongdoing, round-tripping, fake transactions, document forgery. What did Wirecard do? Nothing. They buried the report, fired the whistleblowers, claimed everything was a misunderstanding. The law firm's findings never became public. 2017. A Wirecard executive in Dubai became suspicious. He investigated card systems Middle East, discovered it was mostly fake. Shell company, fabricated revenues. He reported this to senior management. To Jan Marsalek. Marsalek's response: fire him, destroy his career, threaten legal action if he talked. The executive was silenced. 2018. More internal complaints. Employees in multiple countries reported fraud, fake transactions, altered documents, money laundering. Wirecard's response was always the same: deny everything, attack the whistleblowers, fire them, sue them, intimidate them. The company had a pattern. When someone discovered fraud, they were eliminated. Not the fraud, the discoverer. Wirecard executives understood. If whistleblowers were silenced, the fraud could continue. And it did, for years. But outside the company, journalists were starting to notice, and they would not be so easy to silence. January 2019. Financial Times journalist Dan McCrum published his first article. Wirecard suspected of fake sales and profits in Asia. McCrum had been investigating for months. He found suspicious patterns. Wirecard's Asian revenues made no sense. The third-party partners were questionable. The transactions appeared circular, round-tripping, fake customers. McCrum interviewed former employees, whistleblowers, industry experts. They all said the same thing. Something is very wrong at Wirecard. McCrum's article was detailed, evidence-based, damning. Wirecard's response was immediate and vicious. CEO Markus Braun called the article an attack. Chief Operating Officer Jan Marsalek said it was false and misleading. Wirecard hired lawyers. Big firms, expensive. They sued the Financial Times, filed criminal complaints, accused McCrum of market manipulation, conspiracy with short sellers. They claimed hedge funds paid McCrum to write negative articles, drive down the stock price, profit from short positions. It was all lies. But it was effective. Some investors believed Wirecard. The stock recovered. But McCrum continued investigating. February 2019. He published more articles, more evidence, fake transactions in India, suspicious partners in Singapore, round-tripping in Dubai. Each article revealed new fraud. Wirecard kept denying, attacking, threatening. Then something extraordinary happened. Germany's financial regulator BaFin intervened, but not against Wirecard, against McCrum. On February 18, 2019, BaFin announced an emergency measure. They banned short selling of Wirecard stock for 2 months. The stated reason? To prevent market manipulation. The real reason? To protect Wirecard from negative media coverage. BaFin also filed a criminal complaint against the Financial Times, accused them of market manipulation. BaFin's president Felix Hufeld defended the decision. He said short sellers were attacking a successful German company. Journalists were helping them. This must be stopped. It was unprecedented. a financial regulator protecting a company from investigative journalism. But McCrum would not stop. He had found the story of his career, and he knew he was right. Wirecard faced a crisis. The Financial Times articles damaged their reputation. Investors demanded answers. The stock was volatile. Wirecard needed to restore confidence. In October 2019, Wirecard announced extraordinary news. They hired KPMG, one of the Big Four accounting firms, to conduct a special independent audit. Not a regular audit, a forensic investigation. KPMG would examine the Asian business, the third-party partners, the suspicious transactions. Wirecard claimed this would prove the Financial Times wrong, vindicate the company, restore investor confidence. CEO Markus Braun said he welcomed the investigation. He had nothing to hide. KPMG began work. They examined Wirecard's Asian operations: Singapore, Philippines, Dubai, India. They interviewed partners, reviewed contracts, analyzed transactions, requested confirmations. What they found was disturbing. Many third-party partners could not be verified. Transactions were questionable. Documents appeared altered. Cash balances could not be confirmed. On April 27, 2020, KPMG released their report. It was devastating. KPMG could not confirm 1 billion euros in profits from Asian operations. They could not verify the existence of major partners. Documents appeared to be forged. The report stated, "There are clear indications that this was an elaborate and sophisticated fraud." KPMG could not determine if management was involved, but the evidence suggested systematic wrongdoing. The market reacted. Wirecard's stock crashed 25% in one day. Investors panicked, but Wirecard responded aggressively. CEO Braun said KPMG got it wrong. The audit was incomplete, misunderstood the business model. He insisted Wirecard was legitimate, growing, profitable. Some investors believed him. Others did not, but the damage was done. KPMG, one of the most prestigious audit firms in the world, had found evidence of fraud at Wirecard, Germany's Fintech darling. The walls were closing in June 18, 2020. Wirecard made a shocking announcement. 1.9 billion euros in cash could not be confirmed. The company claimed this money sat in two Philippine banks, BDO Unibank, Bank of the Philippine Islands. The cash was held in escrow accounts for Wirecard's third-party partners. This was critical. 1.9 billion euros represented 1/4 of Wirecard's balance sheet. Without it, the company was insolvent. Wirecard's auditor Ernst & Young demanded proof. "Show us the cash. Confirm it exists." Wirecard provided documents, bank statements, confirmation letters. Everything looked official. But EY was suspicious. They contacted the Philippine banks directly. BDO Unibank responded first. "We never held those funds. We have no relationship with Wirecard. Those documents are fake." Bank of the Philippine Islands said the same. "No accounts, no cash, no relationship." The documents were forgeries. EY informed Wirecard, "The cash does not exist. Prove otherwise." Wirecard could not. CEO Markus Braun released a statement. He claimed there was a possibility of fraud. The 1.9 billion might have been stolen. He was the victim. On June 19th, Braun resigned as CEO. That same day, Chief Operating Officer Jan Marsalek was suspended. He was supposed to explain where the money was. He could not. Instead, Marsalek fled. He boarded a flight to Manila, then vanished. Authorities believe he escaped to Russia with help. On June 22nd, German prosecutors issued an arrest warrant for Marsalek. Too late, he was gone. On June 25th, Wirecard filed for insolvency. The company admitted the 1.9 billion euros never existed. It was fabricated, fake accounting. For years, the stock crashed to 2 euros, down from 104 euros just months earlier. 98% loss, 24 billion euros in market value, vaporized, shareholders destroyed. The biggest fraud in German history was exposed. Finally, June 23, 2020, Markus Braun was arrested. Munich, Germany, charged with accounting fraud, market manipulation, breach of trust. He spent one night in custody, then was released on 5 million euro bail. Braun maintained his innocence. He claimed he was a victim, deceived by subordinates, particularly John Marsalek. He said Marsalek ran the Asian operations, controlled the third-party partners, fabricated the transactions. Braun said he did not know, did not understand, was misled. Prosecutors did not believe him. Braun was CEO for 18 years, from 2002 to 2020. He signed financial statements, attended board meetings, received detailed reports. He knew, or should have known. The evidence against Braun was substantial. Emails showing he discussed fake transactions. Board presentations he approved containing false information. Communications with partners he knew were questionable. Braun tried to shift blame to Marsalek, to the third-party partners, to auditors, to anyone but himself. He portrayed himself as a visionary leader, betrayed by a criminal COO. Prosecutors built their case over the next 3 years, gathering evidence, interviewing witnesses, analyzing documents. In December 2022, Braun's trial began. Munich Regional Court. The charges were serious. Accounting fraud, market manipulation, organized crime. If convicted, Braun faced up to 15 years in prison. The trial was complex, technical, hundreds of documents, dozens of witnesses. Braun testified for weeks. He denied knowledge of fraud, claimed ignorance of fake transactions, said Marsalek deceived him. The prosecution presented devastating evidence, emails, reports, financial records, proving Braun knew, had to know, willfully ignored. On February 23, 2023, Braun was convicted. Accounting fraud, organized crime, market manipulation, sentenced to 11 years in prison. The judge said Braun was the architect. He knew about the fraud, participated actively, lied to investors, to regulators, to auditors. Markus Braun, PhD in computer science, former CEO of a DAX 30 company, was now a convicted criminal. Germany's Bernhard Madoff. The fall was complete. Jan Marsalek was born March 1980, Vienna, Austria. He joined Wirecard in 2003, age 23. He rose fast. Chief Operating Officer by 2010. Marsalek was charming, intelligent, secretive. He traveled constantly. Asia, Middle East, Russia, building Wirecard's international operations. He was also building fraud. Marsalek controlled Wirecard's Asian business, the third-party partners, the suspicious transactions, the fake revenues. Everything ran through him. He cultivated mysterious connections, intelligence agencies, Russian contacts, Middle Eastern businessmen. He claimed to work with security services, provided payment processing for sensitive operations. Nobody could verify his claims, but they added to his mystique. On June 19, 2020, Marsalek disappeared. He boarded a flight, Manila, Philippines, supposedly to find the missing 1.9 billion euros. He never arrived, or claimed he never arrived. Flight records show otherwise. Marsalek likely flew to China, then Russia. German prosecutors issued an arrest warrant. Interpol issued a red notice, but Marsalek was gone. Investigations revealed his escape was planned. He had help. Days before disappearing, Marsalek transferred money, secured fake documents, arranged transportation. Some investigators believe Russian intelligence helped him. Marsalek had connections there, had done business there, perhaps provided services. In return, Russia gave him sanctuary. Others think he planned the escape years in advance, knowing the fraud would eventually collapse. Marsalek prepared an exit strategy, multiple identities, offshore accounts, safe houses. In 2021, German media reported Marsalek was in Moscow, living under protection. Russian authorities denied it, but credible sources placed him there. Marsalek remains free, wanted by Interpol, charged with fraud, organized crime, embezzlement. He faces decades in prison, if caught, but 3 years later he remains a ghost. The mastermind who escaped, while everyone else faced consequences. Jan Marsalek, the fugitive COO, still hiding, still free. For now, Ernst & Young audited Wirecard for 18 years, 2002 to 2020. Every year, EY signed clean audit opinions, unqualified, no material issues, everything fairly presented. For 18 years, EY certified Wirecard's financial statements, collected millions in fees, 35 million euros total, and missed massive fraud. 1.9 billion euros in fake cash, hundreds of millions in fake revenues, fabricated customers, shell companies, round-tripping, for 18 years. How? The answer reveals systemic failure. EY never physically confirmed the Asian cash, never visited the third-party partners, never verified the customers independently. They relied on documents Wirecard provided, which were fake. EY requested bank confirmations. Wirecard provided forgeries. EY reviewed contracts with partners. Wirecard provided fabricated agreements. I analyzed transaction data. Wirecard provided manipulated records. Every verification EY attempted, Wirecard defeated with sophisticated forgeries. But EY should have done more. Industry standards required physical verification of large cash balances, site visits to major partners, independent confirmation of revenue sources. EY did none of this. Why? Some say incompetence. Others say complicity. The truth is probably both. EY's audit team lacked expertise in payment processing. They did not understand Wirecard's business model, the complex Asian transactions, the third-party partner structure. They were out of their depth, but they also faced pressure. Wirecard was a prestigious client, fast-growing, high-profile. Losing the account would hurt EY's reputation. So they stayed, collected fees, signed opinions, and missed everything. After Wirecard collapsed, German regulators investigated EY. Financial Reporting Enforcement Panel, FREP, Federal Financial Supervisory Authority, BaFin, both found serious deficiencies. EY failed to obtain sufficient audit evidence, failed to exercise professional skepticism, failed to verify cash balances, failed in their duty. In September 2021, EY was fined €1 million, a pittance, compared to $35 million they collected, or 24 billion shareholders lost. EY also faced lawsuits from investors, Wirecard's insolvency administrator, claiming negligence, breach of duty, enabling fraud. The cases are ongoing. But EY's reputation is damaged permanently. They audited Europe's biggest fraud for 18 years and certified it as legitimate. Germany's Federal Financial Supervisory Authority, BaFin, responsible for oversight of financial markets, banks, investment firms, public companies. Their mission is protecting investors, ensuring market integrity, preventing fraud. With Wirecard, BaFin did the opposite. They protected the fraud, attacked the investigators, enabled the crime. February 2019. After Financial Times published Dan McCrum's investigations, BaFin made an extraordinary decision. They banned short selling of Wirecard stock for 2 months. Emergency measure. The stated reason? Prevent market manipulation by short sellers. The real reason? Protect Wirecard from negative media coverage. BaFin President Felix Hufeld publicly defended Wirecard, called the Financial Times articles an attack on a successful German company. He implied hedge funds and journalists were conspiring to profit from Wirecard's downfall. BaFin filed a criminal complaint against the Financial Times, accused them of market manipulation. BaFin also shared information with Wirecard, helped the company identify McCrum's sources, whistleblowers who spoke to journalists. This was unprecedented. A regulator protecting a company from investigative journalism. Why? The answer reveals regulatory capture. BaFin saw Wirecard as Germany's fintech champion, pride of German innovation, competing with Silicon Valley, American payment processors. BaFin wanted Wirecard to succeed, so they protected it, ignored warning signs, dismissed complaints, attacked critics. BaFin received multiple warnings about Wirecard. 2008 whistleblower, 2016 Singapore complaints, 2018 KPMG concerns. Each time, BaFin investigated superficially, found nothing, closed the case. When Wirecard collapsed in June 2020, BaFin faced intense criticism. How did they miss this? Why did they attack journalists? Why did they protect fraud? BaFin President Hufeld resigned in January 2021. Forced out. His deputy also left. The agency underwent restructuring, new leadership, new procedures, but the damage was done. BaFin failed spectacularly. They had the tools, the authority, the responsibility. Instead of protecting investors, they protected criminals. BaFin enabled Germany's biggest fraud by attacking those who tried to expose it. Wirecard's collapse destroyed wealth, lives, futures. The victims were many. First, retail investors. Thousands of Germans invested in Wirecard. Retirement savings, college funds, life savings. They believed the story. German fintech success, growing revenues, strong profits. They trusted the auditors, the regulators, the DAX 30 listing. When Wirecard collapsed, their investments became worthless. 24 billion euros in market value vaporized. Many lost everything. One victim was Karl, age 63, Munich, retired engineer. He invested 50,000 euros in Wirecard, his entire retirement savings. After the collapse, his shares were worth 100 euros, down 99.8%. Karl had to return to work at 63 to survive. Another victim was Sarah, age 35, Hamburg, single mother. She invested 20,000 euros, money saved for her daughter's education, gone. Sarah borrowed money to cover expenses, went into debt, lost her home. Thousands of similar stories. Institutional investors also suffered. Pension funds, insurance companies, asset managers. They held Wirecard shares, billions worth. When the fraud was exposed, those holdings became worthless. German pension funds lost hundreds of millions. Retirees' future income reduced. Insurance companies faced losses, affecting policyholders. Asset managers saw their funds collapse, hurting their clients. Then there were Wirecard's employees. 4,000 people worked for the company globally. Most were innocent. They processed legitimate payments, provided real services, had no knowledge of fraud. When Wirecard filed insolvency, they lost their jobs. Immediately, no warning. Their stock options became worthless. Many had invested savings in company shares. Gone. They faced unemployment during a pandemic. Finding new jobs was difficult. Some lost homes. Marriages collapsed under financial stress. The emotional toll was immense. Employees felt betrayed. They worked hard, believed in the company, built their careers there, then discovered it was all fraud. Their reputation was tainted. Wirecard on your resume became a liability. Employers questioned whether you knew, were involved. Innocent employees paid the price. For crimes committed by executives, the human cost of Wirecard's fraud extended far beyond the balance sheet. Wirecard's collapse triggered reforms. Germany's financial system faced scrutiny. How did this happen? How did fraud operate for over a decade? Why did regulators and auditors fail? In July 2020, German Finance Minister Olaf Scholz announced reforms, strengthening BaFin, increasing audit oversight, improving enforcement. The Financial Reporting Enforcement Panel received more resources, more investigative power. Mandatory rotation of audit firms was considered. Stricter rules for auditors examining complex international operations. In October 2020, Germany passed the Financial Market Integrity Strengthening Act, Finanzmarktintegritätsstärkungsgesetz Act, FISG. The law enhanced auditor accountability, required auditors to report suspicious findings to regulators immediately, increased penalties for audit failures, created joint audits for systemically important companies, 2 auditors instead of 1, expanded BaFin's powers, more staff, better training, ability to conduct surprise inspections. Criminal prosecutions continued. Markus Braun convicted. 11 years prison. February 2023. Other executives faced charges. Chief Financial Officer, Chief Accounting Officer, various managers. Trials ongoing. Jan Marsalek remained fugitive. Interpol red notice. International manhunt. But he stayed hidden. Russia likely. Protected. The insolvency administrator worked to recover assets. Sued EY for negligence. Sued banks that lent to Wirecard. Clawed back executive bonuses, sold Wirecard's legitimate businesses. Payment processing operations were sold to Santander for 100 million euros, far less than peak valuation. But something. Creditors received partial recovery. Cents on the euro. Shareholders received nothing. In June 2023, 3 years after collapse, investigations continued. Prosecutors examining whether banks knew, whether other executives were involved, whether international partners participated knowingly. The full scope of the fraud may never be known, but Wirecard changed Germany, exposed weaknesses, shattered illusions, proved that fraud can flourish anywhere, even in regulated markets, with prestigious auditors. In developed countries, no system is immune. Wirecard was Germany's Enron, a national embarrassment, a cautionary tale, and a permanent reminder. Trust but verify. Always verify. Today, Wirecard is synonymous with fraud, like Enron, like WorldCom, like Theranos, a cautionary tale taught in business schools, studied by regulators, examined by auditors. The parallels to Enron are striking. Both were darlings of their industries. Both reported explosive growth. Both had complex international operations. Both used sophisticated accounting tricks. Both fooled auditors for years. Both were exposed by persistent journalists. Both destroyed shareholder value. Both led to criminal convictions. But Wirecard was worse in some ways. Enron collapsed in 2001, before Sarbanes-Oxley, before modern audit standards, before enhanced regulation. Wirecard happened in 2020, after all those reforms, in the heart of Europe, in a developed market, with a premier accounting firm auditing, with a financial regulator overseeing, and still fraud flourished. For over a decade, 1.9 billion euros fabricated, hundreds of millions in fake revenues, thousands of fake transactions, all certified as legitimate. The lessons are sobering. Auditors can fail completely for years. Regulators can be captured, protecting companies instead of investors. Journalists can be attacked. For telling the truth, fraud can be sophisticated, difficult to detect, hidden in complexity, and when it collapses, the damage is catastrophic. Markus Braun sits in prison. 11-year sentence. For fraud, for lies, for destroying 24 billion euros in value. Jan Marsalek remains free, hiding somewhere. Russia probably. The mastermind who escaped. Ernst & Young paid fines. Face lawsuits. Damaged reputation. But still audit major companies. BaFin reformed. New leadership. New procedures. But trust is gone. Dan McCrum received journalism awards. Vindicated for exposing what everyone missed. The victims suffer still. Investors who lost savings. Employees who lost jobs. Families who lost futures. 3 years later, the pain continues. Wirecard taught the world a lesson. Fraud can happen anywhere. Can fool anyone. Can destroy billions. The smartest auditors. The strongest regulators. The most prestigious markets. None are immune. Wirecard was Europe's Enron, Germany's greatest corporate fraud, a permanent stain on German business, and a warning that will echo for decades. Trust but verify. Always verify.